Speaking of feedback at businessshow.co, listener Chuck sent in something about show 336, where we were talking about what Chuck calls the great resignation.
Right.
He says, it struck me that there's an aspect to this great resignation that isn't being discussed, and that is the role of the employee attitude in this. Everyone is asking for employers to make changes, become more flexible, provide benefits and working circumstances that are new and not in line with the way things always were. What I seldom, if ever, hear is the role of employee attitude. Shannon mentioned someone wanting to take off early to go to their kid's softball game. Absolutely important, but equally, if not more important, is the employee's attitude and willingness to, quote unquote, make up the time or activities. Not necessarily in hours, but in attitude, flexibility, and willingness to make other changes to their work processes or take on other responsibilities. Maybe take on additional responsibilities in exchange for the non-monetary benefits they desire. Maybe cross-training someone to be able and available to fill in during those times. There has to be a give and take rather than just a give by employers and a take by employees. I love this. He shares a story, but I figured I'd pause for a second here to chat through this a little
really
bit.
Great question that I have some comments on, as you can imagine.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll share his story because it's fantastic. He says a recent example that I talked to a friend about came to mind. In a restaurant, a manager who tried to mandate what hours everyone works to make sure the business had the coverage it needed resulted in wait staff quitting. A regional manager came in, talked to the remaining staff, and explained the obvious fact that the restaurant needed coverage from hours X to Y. The wait staff then negotiated amongst one another, adjusting things to their needs among themselves. Some wanted more hours to make more money. Some wanted less hours because of kids and family. They shifted things around and made it work. In essence, they were empowered and became a team to solve the issue rather than being treated like drones and told what and when. Both sides were flexible, as Chuck points out, rather than becoming entrenched in their own positions, and everyone lived happily ever after. That's what a brilliant example of leadership here. Right. Yep. Empower people and get out of the way. Like, that's it.
Yeah. That's really good. And I, making that comment about being flexible with, employees and taking off for kids stuff and all that kind of thing. It's great that follow-up question. You're not going to do that as much if you don't get that give and take with your employee, right? Or your employer. So when you ask someone to stay late, or you ask them to finish a project or do something on the weekend, you're hoping that, we've been really flexible and allowed, for extra time or whatever this person is. And you're hoping that they think and remember those things going, yeah, you know what, we're crunch time. We're going to do this, or we're going to do that. And you want it to go both ways. Yeah. I like that story where you really lay it out, the restaurant concept, you lay it out and let them focus on it. I don't know. It's not as applicable maybe in an office or a tech space coverage type things.
I think it could be, somebody needs to leave, making sure, like, if they can sort it out themselves, and maybe this is the trick. Like, if somebody says, hey, I'm going to go to, I want to go to my kid's soccer game. So I've talked with, Timmy and Susie about making sure that, the things that might come in while I'm gone are covered, whatever that might be. But, showing people that, empowering people to solve that problem before coming to you, right? Like,
well, they shouldn't even, ideally, right? They shouldn't have to. Maybe you don't even know. It just happens.
It just happens.
Now, because your managers, maybe you're talking whatever, and hey, I'm this and the other thing, but the folks working in the departments, in my case, they're technicians and things. If I can remember walking around and going, oh, where's so and so? And they go, oh yeah, he took off. He's doing this. Great. I don't. You don't need to know those kinds of things.
No, you don't. Yeah, you got it figured out amongst you, right? Yeah, exactly. And then even if they do inform you, it's just a heads up, not asking permission, right? And,
Correct.
And that, I think, is, it is whether it should or not, all of this stuff starts with you as the leader, the manager, the business owner, whatever role you are in. You have to allow for these kinds of things to happen, and you need to make space for them to happen without you dictating the process, right?
Yeah, it's part of your culture. It's just baked in.